Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. The title of this presentation is Unintentionally Creating, Teaching, and Reinforcing Stereotypes, which is the same title that I used for the essay I wrote on the same topic. In both this presentation and my essay, I talked about the importance of memoirs in combating the stereotypes created by a lack of instruction from our educational system and reinforced by pop culture. I analyzed the book The Best We Could Do, written by Thai Bui, which talks about her family's experience leaving Vietnam and trying to start a new life here in the United States. She begins her story on the day her son was born, and she circles back to her parents' childhoods and tells the story up until the present day. Even though Bui came to America very early in life, all of this circling back to her parents' childhoods was an attempt to connect with them over this weight of loss and war that they share. Asian Americans, like many other immigrants, have stereotypes around them. The difference is that the stereotypes around Asian Americans make them some kind of model minority, like all of them are smart, successful, polite, and obedient. And people who think these things are true don't see it as being something bad because they think these are all compliments. Well, these compliments actually originated in a government propaganda campaign. And not too long ago, white Americans actually thought the exact opposites. Asians were stereotyped as being lazy, opium-addicted, menacing horde dubbed the Yellow Peril, depicted on the image shown here. Because of anti-Asian racism during the Cold War, and because of the Soviet Union rose to power, the US worried that Soviet propaganda was making communists sound like the good guy in the equation when it came to Asian Americans. So America embarked on a propaganda campaign to tell Asian American success stories. The State Department highlighted Asian American artists and politicians, and they even sent an all-Asian American basketball team on tour overseas. The problem is that by selecting smart and successful Asian Americans to hold up as a shining example of assimilation, Americans started thinking of Asians as being a model minority, and many used this as an excuse to discriminate other minorities. While doing research on this topic, I came across an episode of a TV show called Adam Ruins Everything. On this episode, titled Adam Ruins a Sitcom, they had the presence of Professor of History at Indiana University, Ellen Wu. In the episode, she mentions what I said about how other minorities were compared to Asian Americans, and were even blamed for being too lazy and not as successful as them. On that same video, she also points out how this model minority myth affected Asian Americans themselves.
And the model minority myth hurts Asian people too. If an Asian American student is struggling in school, many teachers assume that they don't really need extra help. And it's not true that all Asians are crazy rich and successful. The poverty rate for Asian Americans is actually higher than the national average.
In the 1960s, government officials looked at socioeconomic data from African American communities and contrasted it to the so-called family values and stability of Asian Americans. Now, this filled racist claims that black people had no one to blame but themselves if they experienced poverty and other social disadvantages. Bui's black-inked graphic narrative, washed only with orange, is packed with narrative detail of her family, political history, and geography. Her narrative is more inward-facing. She seems to be trying to understand the complexity of her parents' history along with us, which is a result of an equally, if not more, powerful elimination of history. Bui's particularly good use of framing and unframing emphasizes the nature and role of borders in this story. As narrative constrictions and possibilities shift with the opening and closing down of frames, the national border outline of Vietnam appears everywhere, from people's bodies to the background. It's like Vietnam is embedded in Bui's identity. Bui even comes to embrace the idea that movement itself can be a form of homeland. She explains, "The ground was always shifting beneath my parents' feet." Borders are like frames in a comic. They're drawn things, and Thai Bui managed to create a sense of place that is far less rooted in fixed geography than in relationships, a happy antidote to a world of walls. These are the works I used in my paper in case you are interested, and these are the works that I took information from to record this video. Again, I'm Gabriel Muniz, and thank you so much for watching.